Yes, we are live. We are live. We are live. Happy Wellness Wednesday to those that are watching on TikTok, to those that will be watching live on YouTube or on the replay. Y'all, we are live. I have my good old chicory root um, coffee. I'll put it in quotations because it's not coffee. It is chicory root, but it is a natural, it's a natural form of an energy booster because it has good, good things in it. Chicory root is, it's not mushroom coffee though, so it's not mushroom coffee, but it has a natural probiotic, prebiotic. It's good for your digestion, good for energy, good for all of the things, and it tastes good. They have some amazing flavors, and this is the Tichinio. I believe it's Tichinio. That's how you pronounce it. Okay, Tichinio brand, and so it's good. I have the hazelnut flavor, and I love it iced, especially in the summertime. It's going to be really hot today. And so I do it like a iced coffee because I'm not a coffee drinker. Put a little homemade almond milk in it with a splash of coconut creamer. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss, y'all. Mm. So I have that with me. I have my water with me because today's conversation is going to be amazing. And so, again, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, where we have healthy conversations for everyday living. I am your wisdom. I don't want to say wisdom. That's not the word that I was looking for, y'all. Um, I am your wellness. There it was, because I was like, girl, where's the word? Where I am your wellness expert. And today's Wellness Wednesday is actually really special and it is really close to my heart. And I am super excited to dive into it with you all. Um, Before we get into today's Wellness Wednesday, I just want to formally introduce myself. I am Ashley Aites, a mentor, educator, and the founder of the Parent Network, where we are all things wellness, all things emotional development, but also all things faith. So it is a resource hub where faith and wellness collide. So that is what the Parent Network is about. And Wellness Wednesday is one of the things that I simply enjoy doing because I really enjoy teaching and I really enjoy giving my life experience to those that are or have been in the space where I have been before. And so helping to mentor them out of where they are. And so as I share today's Wellness Wednesday, y'all, it's going to be real good. It's going to be real good. So to those that are watching on the YouTube, hello, hello, hello. Today's Wellness Wednesday. Hi, Cam House TV. Today's Wellness Wednesday, y'all, we're going to be talking about reparenting while parenting. And so this is going to be kind of like a live class. So this is absolutely going to be a talk back type of situation when we get to the Q&A part. Again, I am your wellness expert, Ashley Aites, and listen, y'all, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be amazing. If you have your notebooks, grab your notebooks because there are going to be some journal prompts that I'm going to give you all at the end. Because when we're talking about reparenting and we're talking about just wellness and emotional intelligence, regulating our nervous system, all of those things, we want to be able to go back to it. Hi, Corbin. We want to be able to go back to it and be able to take those notes that we've taken and utilize them. And so today we are going to really get into some concepts. I'm going to, like I said, give some tips. And then if anyone is going to be brave enough to join me on live to go through like a literal in the moment coaching type of situation, I would be more than happy to do that with you. So, today's live reparenting while parenting. Now, I said that Wellness Wednesday is healthy conversations for everyday living. And so, as we are getting into this conversation, y'all, if you know anyone that needs to be a part of this live, if you know anyone that may be struggling with unforgiveness of a parent, okay, all right, sis. I love you too. If you know anyone that is struggling with unforgiveness from the mother womb, father womb, whatever it is, and they need to be on this live, just go ahead and tag them or share the live to them. They can always come back, especially if you're on YouTube, and watch the replay because it will be up on YouTube. So let's just go ahead and get into our class goals, okay? I feel like I should have like a gavel, but I know that's like court. But when I say like I'm super excited for this particular conversation and this particular live, y'all, I am. All right, so our goals for today's live class is to help you understand what the concept is of reparenting. That's the first thing. So that's our first goal, is to help you understand what reparenting actually is, and then recognize where your patterns have come from. So it's reparenting while parenting. So majority of people that may watch this live may be those that are parents and are in the process of reparenting themselves. And so these are tips for that. And then if you are not a parent, but you're still reparenting, these tips will absolutely apply to you as well if you are reparenting yourself. So recognize where your patterns are in parenting. Where do they stem from? Okay, that is the second goal. And then I'm going to provide you with some tools for emotional regulation, healing, and connecting. So learning how to connect to your inner child. When I first learned about like the concept of connecting to the inner child, I told my therapist like that, no, I don't want to do that because that doesn't even make any sense. Like, connect to my inner child. How do you do that? But sometimes we don't realize how deep our trauma might be. And so it takes the right person. And also, I believe, a community of people as you are healing to be able to go through this process with you. So, today we're going to be giving tools for emotional regulation, healing, and connection. I really, really hate that this says like welcome to my live because I wanted to actually say what the live is about. So, I wish I could tell you guys. I might just restart it on TikTok because I don't think it shows like what the live is about. Y'all give me 1 second because yeah, I don't think it shows. And I want it to show. I wanted to show what the live is about. But I don't think it shows y'all what the live is about. I think it just says welcome to my live, and I don't want to say welcome to my live. I want y'all to know that this is an effective live for you all, reparenting while parenting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart it really quickly on TikTok. So that way it's not gonna let me. It's not going to let me. Probably because I set the time for it. Oh well. Oh well. We'll just go ahead and we'll just go ahead and leave it. We'll just go ahead and leave it. Because yeah, that's what we'll do. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's 10:10. I'm on the West Coast, so it's 10:10, and I don't want to be on here forever and a day. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving you all everything that you need. Oh, the last goal, sorry, because I got distracted by TikTok, is to empower parents to lead with grace while they grow. I want to emphasize that from the bottom of my feet. The biggest goal as you are reparenting, while parenting, is to lead with grace as you grow. Reparenting and just the parenting journey in general is not about perfection. All right, y'all? It's not about perfection. It is about being able to understand what you need in the moment as you're parenting, so that you are able to also provide your children with what they need in the moment as you're parenting, and growing together collectively through grace. I say this all the time. Parenting is about being present over perfection. And on Monday, as I was just talking to the ladies that are in the Parent Hub, I said that we have to understand that as we're parenting our children, we're not just parenting them from the stage that they're where they are. We're parenting them for life. And so looking at it and making sure that we understand, number one, you are not going to just stay a little kid. But a lot of times for us as parents that are learning to reparent, some of us have been in a space of arrested development because we never went back to that space within our own childhood. And so then we project or we launch off onto our children. And so I want to provide you with some tools today to be able to help mitigate that projection and that outburst sometimes from your own inner child to of a more calm state, a more regulated state, so that you understand what you're feeling. And then when your children might be having like meltdowns or whatever it is, you can help them walk through it. So welcome y'all to class Reparenting While Parenting. All right, so we're working on healing our inner child while raising whole children. This is the premise of today's class. Now, I outline what our goals are for today, and so let's get into this intro, this welcome, this grounding. It's gonna be good, and I'm super excited about it. Hey Tim. So just this frame of thought. If you've ever thought, like, why do I sound like my mom or my dad? Or if you've ever thought about this thought, I don't want to be like my mom or my dad, this is the class. This is the space for us because we're going to learn together. We're going to heal together. Now, because Wellness Wednesday and the Parent Hub is founded on faith-based principles, this is the scripture and the framework that we're going to use. Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so when we're walking through the healing process, you are walking through a transformation process. For me, because I'm a believer in Christ, we as believers are doing this with the Lord, not aside from Him. So it's not I go to therapy, then I go to church. It's Jesus and therapy. If you need Jesus and a psychiatrist, whatever you need, so that you are able to move forward in your healing process. So don't think that the two are separate, inclusive. All right. So that is the scripture, the framework for our grounding scripture. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, what is reparenting? What is reparenting? Reparenting, honestly, is giving yourself what you didn't receive when you were growing up. And the concept of reparenting is not as big as I thought it was prior to me walking through my own journey of reparenting and healing. And here's the thing, like, reparenting doesn't stop simply because you get the tools that you need, because what's going to happen is something will come up in your journey of parenting with your own children that may trigger you, and then you're like, oh shoot. So this is why tools matter. This is why you need to implement the tools that you receive, whether it is through coaching, mentorship, therapy, or all three. It's super important. As a mom that has two kids, I was thinking this not too long ago. I was like, my kids do not know what it's like to struggle. They don't know what it's like to have a lot of things that I had to endure. And for a moment, if you're not careful, you'll start to possibly feel like this jealousy in you, because it's like, I'm giving them something that I didn't receive. But we have to realize, y'all, that is the goal. That is the desire, to do something different so that they're receiving something different. And then a part of that difference is making sure that you're also giving yourself something that you didn't receive. So it's twofold. It's twofold. It's twofold. So the thoughts are gonna come up. And I'm telling y'all this literally from my experience. The thoughts are gonna come up. The overwhelm is gonna come up, like what the heck? Like I say this all the time, and Tam, you could attest to this. Like I've said it so much to be like, I used to get so upset when I figured stuff out and I'd be like, why didn't she tell me this? Why didn't my mom know this? You know, and I'm projecting my anger towards her when it's just like, but be, yeah, you feel a type of way, but at the same time it's like, okay, but you're learning now. And so are you going to allow that anger, which the underlining of anger the underlying anger is truly you're just hurt. You're hurt by this. And this week, I had a really good dialogue with a guy, and I was so thankful that he commented on the post about his particular experience with his mom. And as I felt led to respond to it in a video, he was like, that's spot on. Like, thank you so much. Like, for that, these are things that I'm going to think about. And so that is a part of reparenting as well. It brings us into thought. If we're not thinking about our actions before we do it, then what we're going to end up doing is perpetuating the same cycle that happened to us. And I can almost guarantee that many of us do not want to do that. So we want to make sure that we're using the wisdom that is given to us so that way we're doing things differently. Now, what else is a part of reparenting? So we explain how unhealed wounds show up. So how do they show up? How did they show up with me? Anger, emotional withdrawal, control, shame. Those are just a few. So how did anger show up in my process of parenting while reparenting? Before I had my youngest son, I share this all the time because this was like a pivotal moment, and this was also a recognition for me, like, girl, God is with you, even in you acting up and even in you acting crazy, God is with you. And so I'm like, okay, I was standing in the kitchen, my son was standing in like the living room area, and I was so angry, y'all. I was so mad because I was in a relationship, number one, that I shouldn't have been in. And this is not about the relationship, but I'm giving you all example of how anger showed up in my parenting as I was trying to reparent. Thank you all for the likes. And so the Lord told me, stop yelling at him and stop putting your hands on him because he's not going to respond to that. What you're going to do is breed anger in him that's already there. Now, at this time, his dad was incarcerated. And so I was angry about that. But in the moment, I didn't think that I was angry about that because I felt like I got to do what I got to do as a mom. So boom. We don't have time to process what we're feeling. One of the key things of those that are reparenting themselves is learning how to process your emotions healthily. That is a big, 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 big staple in reparenting, is learning how to healthily process your emotions, which is emotion regulation. I wasn't taught that. I didn't see that. I didn't even understand what that was. And so as I'm standing there, getting ready to yell at him for something, I'm almost sure, the Holy Spirit so swiftly was like, stop doing that because you're going to breed anger in him. And I remember from that moment, I never put my hands on him again in the way of like, feeling like, oh, I have to make him tough. Oh, you're a boy, so you've got to do this. You're a boy, so you need to respond this way. And what I learned even at that time, in hindsight, looking back, y'all, that stage of his life and that stage of my parenting was when I started to kind of emotionally withdraw. I'm a sip. Because of my own anger of the current relationship that I was in and shouldn't have been in, because of the lack of support, that I had from my mom, I was already emotionally disconnected from myself. And so I started the emotional withdrawal at that stage where it was subtle. And again, all of this is in hindsight because when it was happening, I didn't even recognize it because I was in survival. And this isn't even part of the notes, but I feel like this all goes together. I was in survival. And so his dad was not there. I'm here. I'm here with you. I'm pregnant. I'm in a relationship that I should not be in. And I'm trying to figure out how to do what's best for the both of us. But I'm failing at it, not failing in the sense of intentional failing, but failing because I didn't know what I was doing. And a lot of times when we become parents, we don't know what we're doing initially and we don't recognize how much of our childhood is going to show up in our parenting. Whether it was a healthy dynamic in your childhood or unhealthy, it's going to show up. So that's how that emotional withdrawal began to come into play. Control. Let's talk about the unhealed wound of control. Well, listen, control was what I knew, y'all. When I say control is what I knew, control is what I knew because pride is what I was born into. You don't talk about how you feel. You don't talk about what's going on in your household. You don't talk about nothing, okay? It was one of those households in a black family where we're not talking about anything. You got a big old rug, sweep it all under the rug. It's what we knew. Sweep it all under the rug. Okay, get the biggest rug that you can find and sweep it under the rug. And so I came from the household, the mindset, the culture of sweep it under the rug. Because if you're going to talk to me about how you feel, I don't even know how to respond because feelings were so suppressed during that time. So I'm giving my son sort of the same things and not realizing it, y'all, and not being intentional to do so, but because it was in me. It was in me. To those that are joining us on YouTube and on TikTok, we are talking about reparenting while parenting. So control was what I knew, y'all. So you can't do this, you can't do that. And it showed up in relationships. So it was heavy in both of the relationships that I was in with my son's fathers. Heavy. They both told me, like, girl, you have a mouth and you like to control. To which my response then being, and do. And those of you that know me can absolutely sit. And if you don't know me, listen, I promise y'all, back then you didn't know me. Now you want to know me because I'm totally different. I'm totally different. But a lot of even my choosing certain people, even in situationships, was out of control from my brokenness. I don't want you to get close to me. I don't want you to know me emotionally because I don't know myself. So what I can give you, I'm going to have to control the narrative. I'm going to have to control the situation. And then when I can't control it, then we're going to have a problem. So it showed up that way. Now, how did shame show up in my journey of reparenting and parenting? Well, I said this before. I don't ever want to have kids by two different men. And what happened? Sis had kids by two different men. And to be completely honest, sis would have had three, possibly four. At this point in the game, I have nothing to hide. Possibly four baby daddies had I kept the ones that are now with the Lord. Because your brokenness will cause for you to run to things that you can control. And then when things happen, you become ashamed. Truth is freedom, Tam. You become ashamed. And so when I realized, oh my God, I'm basically the thing that I didn't want, like the scripture says, the thing that you didn't want has now come upon you. Yeah. Two different men, two different kids by different people. And for a minute, I trapped myself in that shame, in that condemnation, in that, oh my God. And then I heard the voice of my mom because she was very vocal in, I told you this was going to happen to you. And I told you the only thing that he wanted, because she was projecting her brokenness onto me for all of my life. And the funny thing about it is, y'all, the way that it happened is, okay, so my oldest brother on my mom's side, she married his father, and he was Belizean. My dad, when she met him, he's of course American. And when I met my oldest son's father, he's American. I met my youngest son's father, he's Belizean. So you see this cycle or this pattern that was trying to come about. And I remember my brother being like distraught, like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this. Like, it's happening to you. And I'm like, no, first of all, don't put that on me. It's not happening to me. It's just a situation that I'm finding myself in, but it's going to be different. And from the time that I had found out I was pregnant with my youngest son, I declared that this is going to be different. And it has been different, but I knew it was going to be different in the fact that I was not going to intentionally cause a separation between my children and their fathers because of my brokenness, because of what I didn't receive in a relationship, because of what I didn't get from a man. So it was different in that, and it has been different in that. But what it caused for my children to have to walk through and what they're walking through is their own dynamic. So those are some ways that being unhealed shows up in your parenting: through anger, through shutting down, so withdrawing yourself emotionally, controlling the narrative, trying to control your children. I had a podcast interview on Monday where she talked about, that controlling nature within her, where she was, as we call it, like helicopter parenting. You want to be all in your kids' business, everything that they're doing as adults at that. And it's like, no, that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to steward our children. And as we steward our children, we are able to release them back to God's care, because that's all we're doing is stewarding them. So, what are some common myths that we hear as a part of like this reparenting journey? So, oh, I turned out fine. I can't change now. Like, I am who I am. How many times have we heard that from people? I am who I am. Like, you're going to accept me how I am or you're not. Like, that's a very fixed mindset. It's a very toxic and unhealthy mindset as well, because we are here on the earth and we should be evolving, we should be changing, we should be growing constantly. A learned mindset is one that is going to be unstoppable. But if we are always fixated on the past and what happened to us and never taking the information from our history to move to a more healthier present future, we're going to remain stuck in the past. A lot of times people will say, I don't have time for this. No. This is the thing that you have to make time for. Healing, specifically as we're talking about reparenting in your journey of parenting, is something that should be paramount, especially if you don't want to pass on this generational trauma. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to feel good? Not all the time. But as you begin to see the results of your diligence, of your work, of even bringing your children into this process with you, it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. I can tell you that from firsthand knowledge. It's absolutely worth it. I'll share this. Well, I'll wait because I need to figure out how to delicately say it, because I don't want to put his business on blast. But I'll come back to it. All right. What are some signs that you are needing to reparent yourself? All right, let's talk about this. And so, for those of you that are joining, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, where we have healthy conversations for everyday living. Today, we are talking about reparenting while parenting. All right, so signs you're parenting from your wounds. I can talk about this one all day. So, overreaction to small behaviors. I literally talked about this on Monday in the parent group. When your children ask you why, let me give you a very clear example. When your children ask you why, and you become like trigger, like you go off, and I mean off. Hey, son, you need to respond to my text message. That's what you need to do. You need to respond. That is my oldest son, y'all. Tammy, get your nephew. Authorized user, that's him. That is my oldest son. Um, he follows me now, and I should just probably block him. You don't, how do you keep forgetting? Y'all see how teenagers try to act like, oh, I forget to respond to my mom's message, but you be on the phone all day and all night. Anyways, let me not be distracted by him. All right, so overreaction to small behaviors. So the clear example, when your kid when your kids ask you why, when your kids ask you why and you go off, like you go off, like don't ask me why, I'm the parent, I'm the authoritative one, and he's in the chat, so he can attest that I used to do that. I absolutely did. You, because we considered it back talk. And as I've had to learn, as I've had to grow, y'all, I had to realize that that is not back talk. Now, there are two forms that it can be. There are two forms that it can be. It can be an exploratory conversation. So they're asking you why for clarity. But you're so used to just trying to control. Again, how does it show up? Through control. So, girl, let him just talk, because at this point, oh, here he go. I told him I apologize for that, y'all. Listen, we had a whole conversation. I'm just gonna put him in therapy for that, because I think that that was the mark of his trauma, y'all. And again, I have nothing, absolutely nothing to hide. Bye, son. Have a great day. Stay hydrated, because it is going to be absolutely hot down there. So stay hydrated and practice. Um, I used to overreact, like, you're, get out of here. Like, you don't ask me why. You don't question me. And who came up with that thought process, y'all? Who came up with this thing? Um, okay, son. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Robin. Yes. They have to be able to express themselves. So I told them like this. It's either exploratory, so they want to know, like, literally why whatever the question is or whatever the statement is, or on the other hand, it could be a mark of rebellion. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, because I don't want us to always take it to that extreme. But if you're trying to be rebellious, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, like, no, 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 no. I said the way that you will know whether it is a mark of exploratory conversation, so then you can bring them into understanding, or rebellion, I said you can understand it through their tone. My youngest son, and my oldest son, he probably is off of here by now, but he could tell you, like, Caleb is going to Y you to the fifth power. To the fifth power. And I used to say, I don't know where this kid came from, God. I don't know why you did this to me, because what is happening? But because in the beginning of my parenting journey, because I'm setting this up for us, in the beginning of my parenting journey, I was parenting from a lot of brokenness and control. My oldest son, it was just like, okay, well, she said to do it, so okay, whatever. Not realizing that I wasn't giving him autonomy to grow, to speak, because how else are our children going to have the skills that they need in life outside of the home if it's not modeled in the home? So I'm repeating a cycle unintentionally. And then as I started the journey, Therapy, literally deliverance, the up and out kind, then walking through the journey of deliverance, because it is a decision that we make daily to stay delivered from the thing that we don't want to go back to. So as he tells me now, like, I done seen you, mom, in every stage, because it's true. I was 19, he's 17 now. He's getting ready to be a senior in high school. So he's seen me in the wild stage. He's seen me in the, yelling stage, acting crazy. Now he sees me like, okay, she sees me. Let's have conversation. Let's talk. How do you feel? How did you feel when I did this? How did you feel when I did that? I apologize. This is language of the healed. This is language of those of us that are truly saying, you know what I had before wasn't working. I want to do it differently now. So we've got to learn that kids questioning us is not always rebellion. Now, yes, sometimes it can be just because they don't want to do what you're telling them to do. And even in that moment, it's not about saying, I am the authority figure. It's simply letting them know, when you choose not to abide by the guidelines, the expectations that I have for you, then here's a consequence. Because it shouldn't be a power struggle. I want to say that again. Parenting is not about a power struggle. Was it like that for me in the beginning? Absolutely, because it's what I saw. It's what I received. I am this. And so it breeds fear into our children. Y'all want to know what opens up the door to fear? It is not always the boogeyman from the scary movie that they watched. It's you. And I'm going to take a drink on that. It's us. It's us. We introduce fear to our children, and not the fear like the reverence, but the fear of, I can't feel safe with you. Another sign that we are parenting from our womb is guilt after we discipline. So we're trying to guilt them. Yes, it's necessary. Dialogue is necessary. If you have a partner, a husband, a wife, a friend, any type of relationship that we enter into, y'all, communication, we know, is supposed to go both ways. But if someone is constantly shutting you down and telling you what you're not supposed to say and how you're not supposed to do it, then what does that do? It mutes your mouth. It mutes your mouth. That was a part of my story as a child. My grandmother would tell me, you're too nosy. So you ask too many questions. So what did that do for me? Well, I stopped asking questions because I was told by the authority figure that you talk too much. So I hope we're seeing these correlations and how this connects into our parenting and why we have to change from this and learn to reparent, give ourselves grace, be gentle with ourselves, even in our thinking. And I'll get to that in a second. So guilt after discipline. My mom used to do this. She used to tell me, I'm whipping you because I love you. How many of us have heard that from our parents? If your parents whipped you, I'm whipping you because I love you. And so as a child, first of all of your cognitive abilities have not even began to come into a completed formation. So it's a distortion of love. And when I say discipline, I don't mean the discipline to correct, because a lot of times back in the day, they confuse discipline with punishment. Discipline and punishment are not the same thing. And I've done multiple videos about that. Discipline and punishment are not the same. When you're disciplining, you're correcting a behavior, you are training. That is literally the definition of discipline, is training a person in a way that you desire for them to go. This is why God disciplines us. He's training us in the way he wants us to go. And how does that training show up? Through trials sometimes, through the things that we experience, because his desire is for us to come to him. So when you're disciplining your children, what is innately our desire? For them to come to us. when you're experiencing something that's hard. I have wisdom to help you. So let me train you in this area. But we also do have to bring punishment. This is where the consequences come in. And I firmly believe our consequences should match where you are in your faculties, because not every child is the same. Both of my sons, they're boys, but I can't raise them the same because they have their own personalities, they have their own wills, they have their proclivities. What is the same will be the values and the foundations in which I raise you up on. So guilt after a punishment, where it should be conversation into discipline, and then when you fail to meet the expectation, okay, well, you already know that there is consequences for your action. As it was taught to me by the Lord, discipline, obedience keeps you in safety. An undisciplined, an unobedient life keeps you out of safety. So if we want to be safe, if we want our children to be safe, if we want to be seen as safety, we have to present ourselves in that way. And again, this is not about shame. I'm not shaming us as parents, because I'm literally giving you all a part of my journey as I've grown in parenting. Part of the reason why I'm so passionate about parenting education is because I didn't have none. I didn't have any. So I started to do what I saw until I got to the point where I said, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. A part of the reason why some of our men are so disconnected, even from their own emotions, is because they didn't have safety as a child. And so as a parent, I don't want to be a part of that type of problem. So I got to deal with what's going on with me. So that way, when I do have to go back and apologize, not if, but when I do it and ask for forgiveness and grace. Just like we desire for our children to do the same thing. So another sign that you're parenting from your womb, again, needing control, the silent treatment, y'all. I've talked a lot. I have a few stories about that silent treatment that my grandfather used to do and my mom used to do. I don't have anything to say to you. We do something wrong. I don't have anything to say to you. Well, how is that helpful? How is that helpful? Now, I'm not saying that when our children do something that we don't need a minute to cool off, because we absolutely do. Depending on the severity of the situation, you may need a whole day to cool off. But here's a tip that I've learned is like, you know what? I am going to address this situation with you, but right now I am not in the space to do so. So we are going to table the conversation, and when I calm down, we'll pick it back up. If he was on here still, he would tell y'all, listen, I'm going to address this. But right now, before I say something that is probably not the best and it's not going to yield fruitful results that I desire for it to yield, I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to think about what happened. I'm going to pray. I'm going to talk to the Lord. This is the language of the healed. Versus before, when I seen that he was dabbling into something that he didn't have no business dabbling into, and my emotions were all over the place and I didn't know what regulating those things were, I remember busting into the room and going smooth off. And he's looking at me like a deer in headlights, because he's like, well, what did I do? I don't even understand, what you're talking about. So that is a perfect example of unregulated emotions, unprocessed thoughts, versus as we're healing, as we're reparenting, learning how to step into, okay, this is a heavy conversation or this is a heavy situation. So let me take a moment to filter what I want to say. And this honestly can be translated into just any relationship. When you need to have critical conversations with people, you may not always do it right in the moment. You may need to think about, okay, well, what am I really feeling? What's really happening here? That is a part of our emotional intelligence. Another sign is, again, avoiding emotional conversations, emotional numbness, or burnout. What does parental burnout really look like? For me, I believe it is coupled with that numbness, like you're on autopilot. It's just, I'm here, I'm showing up in the role of mother or in the role of father because this is my kid. I seen a clip the other day and I don't remember what movie it was from, but maybe you could tell me, maybe y'all could tell me. Denzel Washington was the father and he was talking to his son and he told his son, he said, "Do you want to know why I do what I do?" And so the son was standing there like, uh, because you're my dad. And he was like, "I don't have to like you, but you're my responsibility." And it may have been Fences. I don't remember, but the clip grabbed me because I was like, "Oh, this is so much right here to be talked about." Because you see in different generations how parents handle things differently. And this is not like a blame game. This is not any of that. But it is a recognition of when we come into a better way, then we should exercise the better way if it will be beneficial for us and our lineage. And so he was going off, and he was telling him, you're my responsibility. I cook for you, I clean for you. You have a bed because of all of this and all of this and all of this, and so I don't have to like you. And that's what grabbed my attention was, I don't gotta like you. And I was like, whoo. And I had to sit with that thought, like, and here's the thing, here's what I landed on, and y'all may not agree, y'all may not like it. But sometimes you don't like your kids because you don't like the action. Let me not say you don't like your kids. You don't like the behavior. You don't like what they're doing. And so sometimes as parents, you can feel as though I'm giving you all that I have, all that I know. And then your response to what I'm giving you is not what I desire. And so here's what we have to think about. Am I projecting certain things on my children because of what I didn't receive? Or is this really a valid expectation and they're failing to miss the mark? And then if they're failing to miss the mark, where's the disconnect? Like when I tell y'all parenting is not for the weak, conscious parenting, well, we starting next Monday. Conscious parenting, and I say this all the time, not from this enlightened place. That is not even part of my belief system. But conscious parenting, in my definition, is being aware. Oh, okay. It's being aware. It's being present in the moment as best as you can be. To say, you know what? I want to do it differently. I want us to have a healthy relationship, and you have to determine what healthy is for you. So that way, whatever cycle was no longer stays. So the emotional part is so critical. Regulating your emotions, understanding what that looks like and why is so important. And we're going to get into that. Here's a prompt that I want to share. That's what I told you guys in the beginning. Make sure you have your notebooks because I'm going to give a journal prompt. Here's the prompt for you to reflect on. What did I need as a child that I now withhold or overlook? I will answer that from my perspective. As a child, I needed to be seen. I needed language for a lot of things that I was experiencing. And I needed affection. Those were things that I needed. And those were things that I didn't receive, which caused for me to grow up quicker than I should have. I was in conversation with someone, and she said, when we were kids, we by the age that our kids are, we would have been doing this, and then this. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But they don't have to. They don't have to do these things. They don't have to feel like they're in survival mode. And just because they don't have to do the things that we had to do does not mean that they don't have their own struggles that they're dealing with in their life. Because the way we were raised and in the way the things are happening in the world right now is very different. And so trying to compare apples and oranges are not the same thing. So thank God that they don't have to, at 16, get a job to pay the bills, to contribute to the household, if that is a means by which God has blessed you to be able to take care of that. So I think in parenting, we have to also be aware of what we're saying to our children so we're not diminishing them and making them feel like they need to grow up before they actually get into a world that is going to show them a whole other world than they possibly received at home. So again, the prompt: what did I need as a child that I now withhold or overlook? Now, let's get into the 4 R's of reparenting while parenting. So the first thing is recognizing. So become aware of your triggers and your parenting defaults. So whether that is emotional withdrawal, whether that is overreaction to small things, ask yourself, why am I reacting this way to what they're saying to me? Why am I reacting this way to their behavior? Why am I reacting this way to, and you fill in the blank? What is this bringing up for me? Is this connected to something that I experienced in childhood, or is this totally just their behavior, what they got going on because of the stage that they're in? We've got to differentiate between our mess and the stage that they're in. So recognition is the first R to reparenting. I tell my mentees this, to write out a parenting vision. What is your parenting vision? And at first they were like, what is a parenting vision? I was like, I know. I didn't know nothing about it before, but listen, the Lord has taught me so much. Healing has taught me so much. Caleb has taught me so much that it has forced me to do things differently, and it's a good difference. So what is my parenting vision? Just like we have a vision for our lives of the success route that we want to get to, and we do these vision boards at the beginning of the year, and all of these things include your vision for your family. Include that. What is my parenting vision? The next R, as you're reparenting while parenting, is repair. Make amends with your inner child and with your kids when needed. I told y'all that whole apologizing was going to come up again. I had to sit down and apologize to my oldest son. I remember during the pandemic, pandemic was about 5 years ago. He's 17 now. What's the math to that, y'all? He was like 13 because he was in middle school. He was like 13, 14-ish. And he had so much anger in him, and I could see it. But we're in the house. We're in this house, and we were in the peak of pandemic. So he had to do school online, so he didn't have an outlet. Everything was shut down, all of these things. I was annoyed, frustrated, just all of these various factors happening. And I remember telling him to do something, and he just like blew up. I've never seen him respond that way, but he blew up. I don't want to do this. You're always telling me. I vividly remember him saying, you're always telling me what to do, and my dad is always telling me what to do. And then he made another comment behind that, and I was just like, you will not disrespect your dad like that. He started crying, and then who started crying next? Me. So here we were both crying, y'all. We're both crying, and I remember Caleb looking like, oh, what's happening? Like, what is happening? I'm crying, he's crying. And in that moment, I was like, okay, Ashley, you have a decision to make. You need to sit down. You need to talk with him, not at him. You need to figure out what's happening. What are you feeling? And you need to open up yourself to say, hey, I apologize for this, and this. And that began the journey of a more affectionate Ashley, a more aware Ashley, a more like, dang, I'm the problem. What is that saying? Like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, I'm a part of the problem. I'm a part of why he's angry. Yes, he has his other issues or whatever the situation is with his dad, but I'm a part of the problem. And we can't be so prideful as adults to think that we are not a part of the problem. They didn't ask to be here. We birthed them into this world. God gave them to us. And so we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. And so that also looked like for me, because simultaneously during pandemic, I was also in therapy. So talking with my therapist and telling her, like, and just FYI, y'all, I cried probably every session in therapy after I got over the initial, like, take the exterior off, take the mask off, take the robe off, take the titles off, take everything off, and just be present here. Just be present here. And I remember telling my therapist, like, I had a issue with my son, but here's what we came to the resolution of. So we have to be okay with saying, she would tell me, find your safe space. That's what my therapist would say. What's your safe space? And we dedicated a safe space. For me, it was in Costa Rica. I was a little girl in Costa Rica playing in the sand, because as a kid, I didn't go to the beach. I didn't see so much as a child. But one of the things that my children get to experience is a life. They get to experience the world. They get to experience it. And for me, it's not, oh my goodness, I didn't get to do that. But for me, it's like, wow, all of the work that you have done, you're able to see the fruit of that. This, y'all, is why reparenting and breaking the cycle is so important. It's so important. One of the tips and tools that a coach gave me, she said, when you cry, she said, I want you to notice your tears. I want you to notice how they feel. If they're warm, she said that you're still healing. There's still something there. She said, but when they're cool and they're cold, she was like, that is because you've healed, because there is joy in it. And so the tears are not like, I'm still dealing with it. Is like, y'all, I'm so happy. I'm so encouraged that what's being taught today and what will continue to be taught is going to help free so many people, and they're going to see that restoration in themselves, and they're going to see the restoration in their children, because this is about legacy. This is about legacy. This is not about the moment. This is not about, I got it wrong, so now I'm condemning myself. No. We don't need to stay in shame as parents. There's no rule book. We know there's no handbook. We know that. But what we also have to realize is there are people that have been where you are, that are willing to walk with you so that you can see what you desire for your family. So, repair, that was the second one, making amends with your inner child. I tell little Ashley all the time now, like, I'm so proud of you, girl. I have a picture that I look at. It's actually two pictures. One of them was me. I was like, I think 4. I had a pen in my hand, and I had two pigtails. This one on this side, y'all, the picture just looked like I used to just get in trouble. Like, and I didn't. But the picture just looked like I used to cut up. Then there's another picture of me. I was about 2 years old. And that picture is me. I'm kind of looking down at the ground. It's a family picture with myself, my brother, my mom, my aunt, my grandmother, and my grandfather. And I'm looking at this picture, y'all. And every time I look at that picture, it just reminds me of the innocence of children. And I look at that picture and I'm like, girl, we are thriving, okay? Little Ashley, we are doing good. One thing that I tell my kids when they do, when they use their brain to think, and all of these things, I tell them to kiss their brain. I'm glad he's not on here right now. But at 17, I tell my son, kiss your brain, and he still does it. Because these are core memories, y'all, for our children. It's a connecting factor. God didn't design and institute family just because he had nothing to do. He wants legacy in the earth because God is a God of generations. God is a God of legacy. And we have to remember that what we're building in the earth is for legacy. What we're building in our family is for legacy. Not to just leave it, but to live it, to be it, to become it. All right. The third one is rewiring. So these are the 4 R's to rewire. Practice new responses using the tools that you get if you go to therapy, coaching, mentoring, community, all 3. Practice new responses from an emotionally intelligent place, from a place of grace, and from a place of connection. So I just shared the example with you all about the connecting factor, about terms that, only me and my kids know. Only me and my kids have. As my son gets older, our conversation changes. He's getting ready to become a young adult that will enter the world in a way. And so I'm not parenting him from the place of do this, don't do that, do that. What I've given you, what I've instilled in you, now I'm watching those seeds become budding trees. I'm now parenting you from a different space. So our connection is going to be different. The connection that I have with my 11-year-old is different. So as we rewire, we practice new responses. If you have to apologize in the moment, apologize in the moment. I give my children a little bit of autonomy to say, hey, you said you wasn't going to do that, and you did it. Okay, accountability. Okay, accountability. Thank you. It's okay to give them a little leverage because, again, it's not about authority. It's about respect. And how do you teach your children respect is through your integrity. How are you showing up? Respect to me is directly connected to character and integrity. If your character is off, as your integrity is shot, I'm not going to respect you. If you say one thing and you do another, I don't respect that because your word is your bond. What you say is how you should respond, act, become, all of the things. And then the grace part. Listen, we're not going to get it right all the time. This is a constant process. Reparenting is a journey. And so as we continue on this journey, we have to be graceful with ourselves. We grow in grace. God, I need your strength today. Okay. I don't feel like doing this, because sometimes your default will come back. That default of what you knew and how you were raised will rear its head. And then you barking at them and you just like, ooh, I'm doing something different. All right, y'all. Listen, I apologize for that. Like, I wasn't trying to do it that way, okay? In the moment, I was frustrated. We have to learn how to use those I words. Putting it on you, not projecting it on them. I'm yelling at you because you did this. No, stop that. I'm frustrated because I told you to do X, Y, and Z. And now because you're not doing X, Y, and Z, I feel like blah, 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 blah. In this here household, that is the language now. Was it before? No. Because why? You learn it, you have to practice it, and as you continue to practice it, then it will become habit. Next thing is root. For me, I told you all in the beginning, this is God's show, okay? So I'm faithing it in parenting. because I don't always want to be gracious sometimes in my response. Because listen, I'm sick of y'all. Okay, bottom line, sometimes it's I'm sick of it. Okay, I want you to get out the house, and I want you to leave me alone, because as a woman, I'm having my moods. You know what I'm saying? I may have my cycles, and having boys, listen, you got to get to the point where you got to tell them what it is and why I may be experiencing what I am experiencing. Quick little story. So 2 years ago, yes. When was ordination, Tam? 2023? Anyways, I got ordained a few years ago. My kids were with me, and I realized, and the Holy Spirit reminded me of this. He said, "You never double back to have the conversation with them about literally like what that was about, what that meant." Because so I was ordained as a minister and into the office of the prophet. Now, prophets are God's mouthpieces. And prophets sometimes can have very different mood swings, okay? Not because we're mean, evil, any of those things, but sometimes there can be a shift in the environment, a shift in emotions. So much can be happening. And so as one that is trying to hear what the Lord is saying, possibly in a moment, because he doesn't tell you, oh, go into your closet and I'm getting ready to talk to you all the time. It's like, boom, he starts talking, and it's like, okay, something has shifted. And so sometimes even when you go into an environment, because it's always boots on the ground training, things are happening. You can go into an environment, you could be just fine, and then you shift in that environment because of whatever needs to happen, whatever God is saying, whatever you're picking up from that environment. And so then your attitude can swing. And so I wanted to talk to them just about, what the whole ordination was, what everything was about. And I just totally forgot. And from then up until like 2 weeks ago, I never even brought it back. Now, when we went on vacation, one of the instructions that the Lord gave me was, okay, sit them down and explain to them certain things, because Glenn would bring it up to my mind, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you acting funny, your mood shifted, you acting different. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I would be agitated, but I wasn't agitated at him. I'm picking up something. I done had a thought, all of these different things on top of probably whatever I'm thinking about, all of these different things. And when I sat down and I explained to them, okay, here y'all, here is what this means. And so he goes, oh, that explains it. So the other day he says to me, are you having one of those like little things where your mood shifts because you're getting a download, or God is telling you something? And I kid y'all not, I wanted to slap him in his face, because now he's gonna try to use that every single time that he thinks like something is different. But it's the recognition for me. It's the recognition that, okay, you understand. I don't want y'all to take it personal if literally in a moment, as y'all have seen before, and I'm like, sometimes it's not the Lord, sometimes it is me, sometimes it's that time of the month and I don't want to be bothered, and y'all feel like y'all want to amp up y'all silliness, y'all crazy during that time of the month, and I'm ready to put all of y'all out. So it's not always the Lord. It is my own emotions, it is my own hormones, all of the things. But it was so important for me to tell them this, because this goes into that R, which is rooted, being grounded in God's truth, and for them to understand you both have purpose. You both have a call. God has chosen the both of you. He's chosen me to be your mother, to steward what he's placed in you. And so for me to be an example, I'm the first ministry that they're going to see. We're the first ministry that our children, godchildren, grandchildren, nieces, nephews are going to see. We're the first ministry. We're the first touch point. So if in my parenting, I'm not displaying God's character, But I'm telling you, you need to love God. You need to obey God. You need to do this. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect because then you're going to equate the love of God with harshness and brutality and fear that breeds terror and not fear that breeds honor. So as we're reparenting, and if you're in the faith in Christ, you have to stay rooted and grounded in God's truth, not passing down the generational trauma, but opening up the door for the generational blessings to flow through by being present, by being the one, the representative of God in your household. So here's an activity that you can do. This is like a mirror exercise. The people in the Parent Hub, they've done this. I've had them do this. This is a mirror exercise. When you look at yourself in the mirror, this is an inner child exercise. What do I need to hear as a child? So write that down. You don't have to do it right away because sometimes, and this is what they told me, like I looked in the mirror, but I couldn't do it because I started crying. Great. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. You started to initiate the process of release because that's what those tears mean. You were holding this in for so long. And to eventually, I believe it took one of them like 4 weeks to be able to tell her inner child what she needed to hear. So again, this is not like the lyricist Nipsey Hussle says, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. Okay? This is for the long haul. We're moving for the long haul. Reparenting is about the long haul, not immediate gratification. Because we're undoing, we're unlearning and relearning things. And that takes courage, it takes grit, it takes grace. So that is our teaching for today. That is our live class for today. I am going to, well, I feel like I did the scenarios all throughout the teaching because that's literally just how I teach, is through real life experiences. I can never give you guys something that I have not walked through, that I don't have any wisdom in, because I don't like it. I know people will teach from textbooks, and that's great. There's a space for that. But when we're dealing with matters of the heart, when we're dealing with what we've experienced, like real life stuff, please don't tell me something that you didn't experience, because then I feel like it's not authentic. It's not genuine. There is no connectivity. And I always want to make sure that whatever I'm teaching, I have connected to, and then I can connect it to the audience that I am teaching it to. So we're just going to do like a little, and I said this before, Tam, do you want to do it with me? Do you want to be my live demonstration, or whoever else is on here? Do you want to be the one that comes on to do this live demonstration with me? It is literally, we're going to walk through a scenario of what it looks like in the moment, to utilize those tools that I just gave to utilize the tools that I just gave, for reparenting purposes. If not, it's cool. I'm gonna still do the live demonstration. It's like a live demonstration. So she put the eyes, y'all. All right. So let's just give this example that your child is having a meltdown. You're in Target. We've all been in Target. We've all seen children that have had multiple meltdowns. And you want to talk to your child, but from the reparented place, from the place where you feel emotionally safe, and you want to provide that emotional safety for your child. So what would this look like? All right, boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna give my son, for example, me and Caleb. Get it before you get out of the car. What do you tell your kids? Okay, what do you tell your kids? Don't ask for nothing. Don't do this. Don't do that. Blah 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 blah. Right? Right. Okay. You go into the store. Caleb says, "Mom, can I get this toy?" No. We're going through. Mom, can I? No. Mom, can. So they say Mom, can I? 50,000 times. And then in the moment, they just stop in the middle of the store and they start showing and expressing themselves on how they feel. How would I respond from an emotionally intelligent place? Well, let's be realistic. Initially, what is your first thought? And my first thought, I'm about to grab you up. Because what are you doing? Because what is the first emotion that you feel in that moment? Embarrassment. You feel embarrassed. And so because embarrassment is like making your face turn red, making your behind clench, you like, I've got to control this moment right now. Yep. Belt is coming. If you got a belt with you, whatever is closest to you, you ready to plop, 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 plop. Now, we've got to realize, based off whatever age the child is, there is still development that's happening. So you don't like the word no, so you're trying to push back. You're trying to push back on what I said. Let's just say at this time, let's just say Caleb is 4. So you're trying to push back. You're trying to show your will against my will. Now, as the adult, take out the parent part. As the adult, looking at this child on the ground, there are a lot of different scenarios that can happen from that point. I've seen people that don't look like me. They just let their kids scream in the store, let them do what they want to do. Is that a wrong way of parenting? No, that's your way of parenting. Is that the way that I'm going to handle it? No. What I learned, so here's the textbook definition of what I learned years ago in child development. You get to the child's level. So this literally means getting on the floor. 4 years old. We in Target. Listen, I understand that you want something that I told you that you could not have. But displaying your displeasure, and of course we can't use these words with a 4-year-old, but this is just scenario. The way you're acting is not going to cause for me to change my mind. I believe it comes down to your tone. You can be firm in your tone, very straightforward, like I told my kids. You know when I'm yelling and when I'm not, when I'm being firm in my tone. So tone matters. Right now, the way I'm speaking, I'm being firm in my tone. The way you're acting is not going to yield the results that you want. So you have 2 options. Because again, we have to realize, while they're a kid, yes, but they're also going to grow to be an adult. These are things that was never taught to me. These are things that never happened to me. So these are things that I've had to learn. Okay, boom. These are the 2 options that you have. Now, this is where you as a parent get creative. Okay? What are the things that you know your kids love or have at home? And that's not to weaponize it against them. But again, I've already given you, hey, when we go into the store, these are the things that we're doing. These are the things. Right now, you can't get anything, blah, 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 blah. So the option for me, again, the way I'm parenting is not to give in to what you want, but it is to show you that this is not how you're going to get what you want. And also the thing that you love to have, you're going to be restricted from that because you went against what it is that I said. This is discipline in action. So you have 2 options. You can stay here on the floor and the people that work here can come get you and tell you to get up. Again, listen, this is real life stuff. Or you can get up with me. We can discuss this later. And we can leave out the store. What I've seen a lot of times is parents allow their children literally are just basically just running them. We don't do it like that. We can negotiate. Because there are times when you can negotiate. Kids learn negotiation skills in the home. Caleb does it a lot. Mom, if this, and this, and that, can I do this, and that? Sometimes you got to weigh whether or not, okay, yeah, sure. So now I'm going to hold you accountable to what you said, and then you can get whatever it is. But for a 4-year-old, you're not just going to sit here in the middle of the store. I'm going to get down to your level, but I'm going to be very firm in what I'm saying. I've seen this work. Then I've also seen it not work. And then in which case you scooping up little Caleb and you doing Whatever it is that you feel you need to do to control. But again, you're controlling the situation. So I want us to think about, in moments like that, like, is this about control and embarrassment, or is this about a teaching moment? How can I make this into a teaching moment? And everything doesn't need to be gentle. So we don't have to come in with that terminology of, oh, this is gentle parenting. No, this is just me being aware that he wants what he wants. And I'm not going to give into what he wants, but I'm also not going to diminish his spirit. I'm also not going to try to bring a level of fear to my child or her to where then they don't feel safe. So in those moments, you have to figure out what's best for you. So the next one is inviting faith in your healing journey. Simply because, like I said, faith is the bedrock for everything for me. So, okay, God, listen, something has come up for me in this phase of my parenting. I'm feeling a little triggered, because when you're triggered, it just means that's an area that you're unhealed in. So it's not like a cute thing to say I'm triggered. No, you probably need to heal in that area. So when it comes to the conversation of sex education, well, I ain't have no sex education conversation. So it's like I have boys, and I remember when his Peter Piper pick a pepper started to erect on its own, and immediately I was like, oh my God, what was you doing? Why is it like, because we were literally getting out of the car, and I'm like, what is happening here? What is happening here? But when you had a lustful mindset, okay, so you got to know what's in you. You got to know what's going on with you. When you've had a lustful mindset, you automatically thinking like, what you back there doing? And it's like, no, this is anatomy. This is biology, girl. He can't control it. He doesn't even know what's happening. They already feel some type of way about it. That is just the example that I have to give right off the top of my head, and inviting the Holy Spirit, like, okay, God, here I am journeying into this. I need you to give me some clarity. I need you to give me some wisdom on how to do this. Also, I want to say that reparenting does not replace your faith, okay? It's combination. And, and, and. Now, we're done. That literally, though, for real, concludes our live class today. I gave you both of the prompts to use in your own time, the mirror exercise, while also just asking yourself, like, where have I withdrew or overlooked emotionally? Because an emotional wound is so deep that it hurts, in my opinion, more than like a physical, because the physical is going to heal, over time. And I think the thing with our brain is, when we're looking at, let's say we have a scab on our arm, and we're looking at the flesh being exposed, but then we're able to see the process of it being rebuilt. Whereas emotionally, it takes courage and a willingness to go into that deep space to say, I can't see this wound, but I feel it. And that is the issue. Sometimes we don't want to feel, because we know how we felt when it was happening to us. And so we've suppressed for so long that it's like, if I bring this back up, it's going to re-traumatize me, or it's going to redo, and it's not completely. Yes, you're going to have to feel that thing again. Yes, you're going to have to talk about it again. Yes, you're going to have to acknowledge how you felt then, but how you felt then to come to the place of how you can deal with it and heal with it now is totally worth it. It's totally worth it. It's worth it for you, for your inner child. It's worth it for your children. It's worth it for your legacy. So I just want to remind us that, again, parenting is not being perfect, it's being present. It's continuing to grow and evolve with our children, bringing them into our stories, bringing them into an awareness, giving them the things that we didn't have, and not from a place of our brokenness, but from a place of wholeness. So, we are done. We are done. I am so excited because I am going to be doing a masterclass of this to go like into more depth with this, and then in that to do a live demonstration, a live coaching. So that information will be posted at some point this month. But I am more sure than ever of like what it is God wants me to do. Not always how, and I'm not always on board with how, to be honest, but I'm on board with obedience, and so obeying him, because we got to heal. We have to heal, and we can't continue to perpetuate the same cycles that were given to us, the same stale things that were given to us. We cannot do it any longer, because then we're just going to continue to feed the earth what it doesn't need. And right now, the earth is literally shooting out like, no, I don't want this anymore. Like, no, 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 no. And so we have to take advantage of when God sends us people, when God sends us resources that we've been silently praying for or even loudly praying for. Don't let shame, don't let condemnation try to talk you out of restoration, because reparenting is restorative. And I'm telling y'all from experience, you are going to see so much joy in the journey, but you've got to start it. You have got to start the journey. So we're done. What she say? I'm sending you people. Okay, that's what I say to that. Send the people. I said, okay, God, listen, I'm gonna do it. So you send the people. You send the people, and I'm going to show up. That's it. You send the people, and I'm going to show up, whether it's one person, 10 people. I don't care. I really don't care. If you impact one life, you're impacting the world of that person's life. So that is my motto. That is my mission. I am so excited for how God is going to expand the parent network, do what he does, and as I obey him, he's going to do all of what he said in my life and in your life. So obey God, y'all. Heal for real. Reparent with purpose. Write out that parenting vision, what that looks like. Talk to your kids. Talk to your kids, even if you weren't talked to. Brave that pit of your stomach feeling, the knot in your throat feeling of opening up, because it can be scary, but it is absolutely rewarding, beneficial, and full of joy. So y'all have an amazing rest of y'all's Wednesday and week. I will see y'all back for the next Wellness Wednesday.